guys, Chris here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to discuss two very unique and different battery speakers, one of which you may be familiar with, may have heard of, the JBL. The other one you may not have heard of. It is a Gemini WRX 900 to go. It's a mouthful. I'll get into that in a minute. A couple years ago when I got this JBL, I got it because I needed a battery speaker for some remote locations, beach weddings, and just events where people were hiring me to play in little small areas that did not have any power whatsoever, and sometimes some just little impromptu type events, from like proposals and things like that, where people just wanted a little bit of music for just a few minutes, but there was no power, and it was the kind of songs they were requesting. It was not something I could play a cappella. I'm a saxophone player. It was something I needed the backing tracks for, to be able to Bluetooth a tablet or phone or something to it, and things like that, and especially beach weddings. So initially when I got it, it was about $450 a couple years ago. However, for whatever reason, whether it be the pricing of lithium batteries or just JBL being JBL, the prices have gone up quite a bit, and now it is quite a bit more than the competitive speaker, which I deem much better for the money and what you get. However, I'm going to A and B both of these and kind of show you the pros and cons of both of them. So starting with the JBL, it is called the EON 1 Compact. Of course, JBL has their EON 1s column speakers. I had their first generation several years ago. Those were great speakers, and they were about 600 watts peak with the low-end driver and everything. Now they have their second gen, they have their PRX, they have a lot of things going on and great products. This one I've had for several years, so it does have a little wear and tear on it, but it's held up great. It has great battery life. JBL is a little sketchy on their wattage. They don't really put that out there. It does have an 8-inch low frequency driver, similar to the WRX and the subwoofer. It does have several jacks in here. So you've got your two smart jacks, XLR, / quarter-inch. You've got one dedicated quarter-inch line, channel 3, and you have an aux input that can either be Bluetooth or you can plug directly into the 1/8-inch adapter. Mine has some tape over it because 1/8-inch or 3.5 millimeter aux cord broke off in there, but I use it as Bluetooth, and that's that's the thing with mine. It also has two USB charging ports, so if you have a device, a phone, a tablet, or something like that you're using to run off there that maybe is an older product, the battery doesn't last that long, you can plug it in and use it while you're using the speaker and draw off the speaker's battery. The speaker does last a long time. I've used it on several 3 to 4 hour gigs, and it ran. It does take a while to charge, a lot longer than the WRX Gemini. However, it does hold a charge a long time, and possibly longer. I haven't ran them continuously for the same amount of time to test that, but the JBL, I would say, probably would outlast it battery wise. It does have some onboard reverb effects, and it does have EQ, treble and bass, and your knobs there. It is pretty neat. JBL, this is kind of using their new design language with their green LED lighting and how you adjust the volume and things like that. It took a little getting used to. It does have an app as well for both Android and Apple. And it's pretty simple to use, and it's pretty neat. However, if I'm in an outdoor environment, I don't really like to use the app because it is hard to see the screen and things like that. And also, if I'm using a different device to stream the music than what the app is, that can be a little bit confusing there. So I just use the onboard knobs. I'm a knob guy. I like keeping it simple, so I just click, whatever I'm going to use, or what channel I'm trying to adjust, mic line, this, that, master volume. Now, it sounds pretty good close up. However, it does not get very loud, at least not as loud as I was hoping it would get. It has okay bass for the 8-inch driver, but nothing compared to what the WRX has. And it just doesn't throw quite as far. I mean, the nice thing about it, you can put it on a speaker stand and raise it up a lot farther, for sure. But it just doesn't get as loud as the WRX does. And for the amount of money for a JBL product, I think it should. Especially for what it costs now. It was expensive before, but now it's a lot more expensive. So of course it has different mounting options. You can be mounted on a pole, speaker pole like this. You can just put it on the floor as it's kind of designed as the compact, kind of similar to the little Bose thing. So it has angled options where you can put it like a floor monitor. And I've used that actually for a little restaurant gig, happy birthday saxogram as I call it. Somebody hired me to come play a song for their husband surprise on a birthday, and so I just brought this in. They wanted a particular song that I needed a track for, otherwise it wouldn't be very recognizable on just the saxophone. So I brought this in, had the track with my on my phone, Bluetooth to it, and my sax. I just put it down beside him, played, and I was out of there. It's a quick thing to carry because it does have a handle. It is about 17.5 pounds, probably about 18 pounds. I think it's 17.6 is what it's listed. So about 18 pounds. It is a tad lighter than the WRX, which comes in at about 21 pounds, but it's a negligible difference. So good speaker, not bad at all. It just doesn't get quite as loud as the WRX. I'll compare them both in just a few moments. I'm going to talk about the WRX next. But again, not a bad speaker. I just don't think it's worth $630 now. Gemini, you may or may not have heard of them. They've been around making music equipment since the 70s, I believe 74, but you'll find them on DJ mixers and different things, and even speakers like this. Now, I'm normally one for the big box brands, QSC, JBL, EV, brands that we've come to count on, but Gemini is not one to sleep on either. They make some cool products like this one I'm going to show you. There are two Gemini WRX 900s. I want to clarify, there's the regular 900 and there's the 900 to go. There's a $100 difference between the two. The Gemini 900 regular one is about $400, I believe. That's because it doesn't have the battery in it. It's just a powered regular column array speaker, and it is a great speaker in its own right, and I'm going to demonstrate that. However, the reason you want to spring for the to-go model is because it has the battery, and therefore you can use it when you don't have power, and that's the exact reason that I bought it and what I needed it for. About a year ago, I found myself doing quite a few beach weddings, and power just isn't always there. You can't plug into a seashell, and running tons of extension cords or getting a generator is sometimes just not really feasible and or the best option. And so I wanted to find one that did a good job but wasn't crazy expensive. And I've been impressed with this even over the JBL EON Pros. That's a whole other story, but for what you get here in this price point at $500, you can't go wrong with it. So let me show you a demonstration of that in just a second, but I want to clear the air on some of the landing pages. Some of the information is false, even on Amazon and Musician's Friend. I've seen listings saying that it was 3,000 watts, and that's not the case. That's totally unrealistic, but for a battery speaker, come on. No, it's 800 watts, and I'll show you a picture of the box here with the accurate information for the most part. It's an 800 watt peak speaker, which is 400 RMS. That's continued output, what you'll be getting. But that's a lot for a battery speaker. My JBL EON ones, my first gens, were about 600 watts peak. So this is actually more than that, and it's very comparable sound in a smaller package. It's also very light. I saw something that said, even on the box here, it says 30 pounds, and maybe that's with the top speakers, but the subwoofer itself, the part that you're gonna be carrying, is actually about 21 pounds. It's 20.8 on my scale, so that is very lightweight. That is very easy to handle, and it's so small. It even fits in my 350Z when I have to do a small beach wedding. I can drive my sports car to the event and bring the speaker. It's pretty cool, but that's a whole other story. Very, very high quality speaker for the amount of money that you're spending on this. Yeah, I got it for beach weddings, but I found myself using it several times a month for other situations as well, which I'll talk about in just a minute. You do have 6 speakers that the dispersion is angled, so you get about 120-degree dispersion on that. They have spacers, so if you use both spacers, it can be over 7 feet tall like you see there. The speakers are in the top though, so they have the grill integrated from top to bottom, but you have 6 speakers for your mids tweeters in the top section of it. However, if you wanted just a shorty speaker, you can plug that directly onto the subwoofer, have a real short speaker. Maybe you're just listening by the pool or something like that, or you can have one spacer in there, or you can have both of them and it be as tall as you want. So of course you can adjust the height of it on that. This is very comparable in some ways to the JBL. You've got two smart jacks, again, just like the JBL. You've got your XLR or 1/4 inch. The third channel is dedicated to your aux, whether it be RCA, 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch input from a headphone jack, auxiliary cord, or Bluetooth. And that's primarily what I use it for in those no power situations. And then of course you've got your master. You do have a reverb slash delay. They call it reverb on here. It is really a mixture of reverb and delay. You can't control how much is reverb, how much is delay, but it is a healthy mix. All you can control here is the wet mix. But on my saxophone, it sounds great. It's exactly what I need for those beach wedding situations where I'm not going to have a mixer to put in my own effects. It's nice to have that, and I'm sure it would work great for vocals as well. Another nice thing that you do have is a XLR out. The mix out is, you can daisy chain this to another speaker. You could have two of these battery speakers and just have an XLR input to them. You have twice the power, or you can go out, say you're doing a beach wedding or some sort of event. Again, you're using this when you don't have power. Maybe there's a videographer there and they want to capture better quality sound than what they're getting off their camera mic. Maybe they have one of those Tascam recorders, and I've used that before. I had an XLR go out to that so they could sync up the audio later with the video but have better quality audio. So that's an option as well. The JBL does have that, but it is a 1/4 inch output, the pass through. So you kind of do have that option, but I think XLR is a little bit more realistic for if you're chaining it to another speaker or something like that. So now I'm just going to do a quick little comparison between these two. I'm going to play a little copyright-free song here that's YouTube friendly, and I'll use the same volume settings on my tablet for both of them, and we'll just compare back and forth and see how they sound up close and then farther away from the same distance. All right, here we go. right, guys, so there's a little A and B that was maxed out on the JBL, whereas I only had the WRX at 75%, and I don't know how well to come across on the camera, but in person here, I can definitely hear the volume difference, and that the WRX was louder and had a lot more bass response. And even though they both have an 8-inch woofer, again, I don't know what the wattage is on the JBL because I can't really find it listed anywhere. But the main difference, it could just be that it's separated so much that you do have the subwoofer, dedicated subwoofer there with a bigger enclosure, and the high end up here versus it all kind of being so close together in this proximity with kind of the horn here and low driver there. I will say, as a kind of a final takeaway, the JBL, one pro to it is that the battery, if you do have to replace it, is easily accessible, being that you just unscrew this and you could replace the battery. I'll have to see what the cost of replacement batteries would be. Whereas on the WRX, no doubt that you could replace the battery in it if you needed to. But you would have to probably take it apart to get to the inside of it. I don't know. Another takeaway, and this is kind of a con for the JBL, is that it's on right now, but you can't really see in daylight. You can't see the lighting. It's a green color for like the battery indicator, what channel you're on, the volume knob. There's no notch on these knobs. You just have to turn it and you see the light. It either gets really bright green, and as you turn it down, the green meter goes away. So I'll show you inside so that you can kind of see what it's supposed to look like, but outside you can't see that whatsoever. And so that's kind of a major con for this new JBL design language with the lights. It looks pretty in a dark environment, but if you're outside in the sun, to me it's kind of worthless. And then it forces you to kind of use the app. Problem is with the app, the sun on the screen is also kind of hard to see. I like physical buttons, and I like that the Gemini did that with the WRX. It's simple, yes, but it's very functional, just like a mixer. You just turn the knob and you know exactly where you are at any given time. There's no guesswork. So I do appreciate the simplicity of that. With the tops off and carrying the subwoofer, it's about 21 pounds, super small, super light. It does not have its own carrying case. You can get a case for extra for the JBL, a protective case. What I do for these is I actually just wrap a moving blanket I got from Harbor Freight around the subwoofer, and with a bungee cord that protects it, I can still have access to the handle and carry it. And then the top, I put those in a duffel bag that I got from TJ Maxx, really cheap. And just make sure that the duffel bag is at least 2 feet so that you've got room for that's about how long these are. So you want to make sure that you've got at least 2 feet. So that way you've got some leeway to put those in there. I put a little rubber mat divider in there to pad it a little bit. Then I put a towel over it for the third speaker section. And then you can put in whatever else you would need for the gig in the bag. Mic cords, microphone, power cable to charge it if you need to, and just miscellaneous stuff that you would need at that gig. Make it your gig bag and speaker bag all in one for an easy entrance exit to the gig. So that works really well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody out there that's needing a decent battery speaker for some sort of remote location that you're having to set up and play in, and just can't put a regular speaker there. So I think that these do a great job, whether the JBL or the Gemini. To me, I think the win goes to the Gemini for how loud it gets, the functionality, and the price point. But the JBL has its place as well. So if either one of these is helpful to you or just gets you looking in the right direction, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll put links below to the Amazon link for these. And hopefully this is helpful to somebody out there. So thanks so much again for watching. See you next time.